Very exciting interview today on the show, and very excited to be partnering with our friends at Pepsi for this interview, as well as the Oilers gear up for the playoffs. Pepsi is making a bold statement. It's changing its iconic cola color to orange, and to celebrate the launch, Pepsi is teaming up with, once again, NHL Hall of Famer, former Edmonton Oiler, five-time Stanley Cup champion Grant Fuhr, the pride of not just Spruce Grove, but all of Edmonton. Grant, excited to have you on again today. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you guys?
Doing great.
Fantastic. Playoffs are right around the corner. Always an exciting time in Edmonton. I want to kick this off by talking a little bit about your partnership with Pepsi. You first signed with Pepsi back in the last season the Oilers won the Stanley Cup. So I like that we're keeping the championship vibes going, or maybe bringing them back. Let's maybe start with that partnership. Talk to us about that first time you signed with Pepsi, and then maybe a little bit on how this year's partnership came about.
So for those that remember, I would have signed with Pepsi back in 1989. I was going to wear Pepsi pads in the All-Star game. But unfortunately, the league wasn't quite as forward-thinking as Pepsi was. So we had to make a choice of either wear them and get suspended or not wear them. So we ended up not being able to wear them.
Wow. And then this year, I mean, Stanley Cup playoffs coming right around the corner. I feel like it lines up really well, but talk a little bit about this year's partnership and Pepsi turning the cola orange.
Yeah, I'm excited to be back with Pepsi again. It's such a good company. They're very forward thinking. And the fact that they reached out and were interested in partnering with me again is awesome. Brings back a lot of really good memories. And I'm excited going forward with Pepsi, and obviously excited for the playoffs. I mean, that's still the best time of hockey.
Yeah, the playoffs, especially in Edmonton, are so much fun. Like, we obviously got to experience the run last year of going to the Cup final. But what is it about Edmonton that makes playoff time so special here to you?
I think it's the fans more than anything. I mean, the atmosphere in Edmonton is like no place else. I mean, that's the one thing. Once playoffs get going, everybody in Edmonton is a diehard Oilers fan. And well, you guys know, if you follow social media through the year and such, they can be fairly critical. But when it comes to playoffs, they are definitely 100% behind the Oilers.
Yeah, no kidding. We had Mark Messier on earlier this week, and we were talking about some of his playoff memories as a player. And I mean, there's a few guys on this year's team who are going to get to experience playoff hockey in Edmonton for the first time. But when you think back to that first playoff run you had with the Oilers, and funny enough, I think that was actually a series against the LA Kings as well, which ties in nicely to this year. But what do you remember about that first playoff game and experiencing that atmosphere for the first time?
You know what? My first playoff game didn't really go all that well. I think we lost 10-8. So probably not the start I was looking for. But you know what? To get a taste of the playoffs, there's nothing better than that in Edmonton. I think that's the biggest thing, is the city just goes crazy. I mean, if you look at through the years, you look at the new building and you look at the atmosphere outside the building, not just in the building, but outside the building, the fans that support it. I think it's phenomenal. And it's something that everybody should experience.
Yeah, and like when you think back to playoffs this year, like you said, it's not just like being in the building, it's just the vibes are around the whole city, like everyone's so invested in it. But when you're sitting back sipping on a Pepsi, is there a certain moment you kind of reminisce on in your career being like, man, that was awesome, like what a cool moment that was? I would assume the 5 Stanley Cups would come up once in a while.
Yeah, it comes up once in a while, especially with some of the people I sit and watch the games with. And you know what? The greatest part about it is the city of Edmonton I grew up there. So I was born and raised. I was an Oiler fan when they were in the WHA, lucky enough to play right at home. So I have a little different feel than most people, being right from Edmonton. So I love playoff time. I love playoff time in Edmonton. We tried to sneak up for a couple of games last year, but unfortunately for us, they scheduled our playoff games at the same nights that Edmonton played. So that was a bit of a bummer, but we did run an extra TV screen so we could watch the games. So no, we're still a diehard.
I love that. Again, going back to your playing days, the team, it was so unique because there were a handful of guys on that team who were local Edmonton products. You, Mark Messier, Randy Gregg, a few like that. How much more pride did you take in putting on that Oilers sweater, knowing that you were playing for your hometown?
You know, everybody as a kid dreams of playing in the National Hockey League. And of course, we all dream about playing at home, but to actually be able to do it, I think that's the big thing, is you get the chance, you get the opportunity. There's nothing better than that. I mean, one, you're playing in front of family, friends, that sort of thing. So when that happens, it just brings that extra special feeling to it, because there's nothing better than winning with your family and your friends around.
Yeah, no kidding. I wanted to ask you one, just kind of talking a little bit about this year's team, and you brought up that your first playoff start didn't exactly go all that well, and you look at this year's team and Stuart Skinner. That's a guy who he's definitely battled some inconsistencies through his first couple of playoff runs with the team, even though they went as deep as they did last year. But just looking at a guy like Stuart Skinner, who is a local product like yourself, who's taking on the task of trying to lead this Oilers team to a Stanley Cup, just like you did. I guess, what do you think of his first couple of playoff runs, and maybe what advice would you give him heading into his now third playoff run with the Oilers?
Hey, there's growing pains in the playoffs. That's the biggest thing, is that playoffs don't always run the way you want. I mean, my first year, we lost 10-8 in the first game, won 3-2, won 3-2, then blew a 5-0 lead in the third period to lose 6-5, and then lost 7-4. So you learn. I think that's the biggest thing you learn. And then you look at our group in 83, we got to the final, we lost in the final. The Oilers lost in the final last year, but we got swept in 83. People don't remember that. We got swept by the Islanders in 83. So you take something out of every playoff and you learn. And I think with Stuart, that's going to be the same thing. He's going to learn each series he's in. And as you learn, you get better and better. Yeah, your regular season might not be as consistent and as good as everybody else wants, because everybody wants to win every game, but guess what? You're not going to win 82 games. That's just the way it is. But come playoff time, you take it one game at a time. You don't look at the long term. You just try and finish one game. You win that game or you lose that game. You let it go afterwards, and you look at the next one.
Yeah, and I think with Skinner too, what people seem to forget is he's still a very young goalie. Well, this is, I think, his third full season in the NHL, and he's taken the Oilers on some good playoff runs too. There was a clip last year from the Oilers run from some of the behind the scenes footage of McDavid kind of we saw a side of him we hadn't ever seen before, and showing a lot of passion, telling the team to dig in. Was there ever a moment when you were in those runs with obviously those great Oilers team that's maybe Wayne or Mess kind of stepped up and like changed their vibe and was like something similar to that?
Well, we had a pretty serious vibe. I mean, anytime you've got Mess, it's a serious vibe. So that was the great part about it, is we had great coaches that were good about motivating us. And within the room, you got Wayne as a leader, you got Mess as a leader. You look at some of the guys we had as leaders, and all of a sudden, you've got a good vibe. You just didn't want to be that weak link that caused the team to end up losing.
Yeah. Another thing too, like just kind of drawing the parallels to those teams in the 80s and maybe even this year's team. But you talked about losing in the Stanley Cup final, and then again going on the next year. Like the Oilers right now, coming into the season, the regular season, I guess, means less, and I'll throw air quotes around that, but it means less than it did in the past, because this year's team is going to be judged on what they do in April. And I think we maybe even saw that a little bit in the regular season this year for the Oilers, where it's like, okay, maybe they took their eye off the ball a little bit because they're thinking like, just get us to the playoffs, just get us to the playoffs. Did you have any experiences like that, where that year after you first go to the Cup final, like, is it tougher to play in the regular season when you remember how close you were and you just want to get back to playoff hockey? And it's like, man, it's game 65. Who cares right now? Get me back to April.
Well, you know what? You care, but at the same time, as you care, it makes the regular season harder. I think that's the biggest thing, because you know what the end goal is and what you really want. And for you to get there, obviously you have to be successful in the regular season, but at the same time, the regular season doesn't have that same relevance. So once the playoffs start, it'll run the juices up. And yeah, people like to see you have a regular season that's really good. They worry about inconsistency. They worry about the team not being good enough, but playoffs are a different animal. And I think you'll see that from the Oilers. Once it gets started, they're going to be good.
Yeah, and I mean, another side of it too is the injuries, like we're seeing right now. So many Oilers have been going down over the last 3 weeks, and we always hear come playoff time that, you play hurt, right? I mean, at times we've seen guys like Leon Draisaitl do this. You even play injured, and I guess when you look at that too, like the Oilers are kind of limping to the end of the regular season here. But how much does that change come playoff time, where maybe that sore knee, that sore shoulder, whatever's bugging somebody, that goes away come playoffs, right?
Well, there's a difference between playing injured and playing hurt. You can play hurt. Injured is kind of hard to play. Yeah. But again, once playoffs start, you get adrenaline. The docs will make sure that things are functional. So you play. I mean, if the body part's not falling off come playoff time, you're going to play.
Yeah.
Do you have a
Go ahead.
prediction for this first round? Round 4 of Edmonton, LA again, 4 years in a row. It seems like, hey, we all saying, it's been 7-6-5. Is this one a sweep? Probably not. But what do you think?
Oh, I think it's going to be another good series. I think it's going to probably be a 6 or 7 game series. I think it's going to be kind of nasty because the two teams obviously don't like each other. We saw that the other night. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah. Did you, obviously you guys through your playoff runs, you would have ran into the same team a handful of times as you went on.
Like Calgary every year?
Yeah. Does it get more difficult being kind of, again, you guys were the top dog for all those series. Does it get more difficult the more you have to play a team like that?
Oh, definitely. Especially if you've had success against them. Mm-hmm. I mean, you look at the series we had against Calgary, a lot of those battles went 7 games. You look at how hard the series were against Winnipeg. Yeah, a lot of them were sweeps, but every game was close. Every game was hard. So that's just the fun of the game.
Yeah. Let me wrap up with this one here. As playoff celebrations get going all over the city, give me your best advice to hockey fans for how to survive what we hope is another long run for the Oilers.
Enjoy the ride. I mean, it's a lot like a roller coaster. There's going to be ups, there's downs, but enjoy it for what it is. I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun. And the Oilers, I think, are going to take a long run this year.
Grant, thanks for your time. Appreciate you popping on. Enjoy a nice cold Pepsi during the playoff run for us.
Oh, I definitely will. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Grant.